Hey, UK, can you spy on our guys? Well, why don't you spy on them? Because we can't. They have laws against that stuff. But if you do it... Let's look at this piece in The Guardian, because this is just fascinating, isn't it? The Guardian, a left-leaning outlet, by the way. This is not some conservative outlet. This is by Luke Harding and written in November of 2019, just recently. UK knew in 2016 of Trump's suspicious links to Russia, book claims. What book? Oh, the book by Fusion GPS. The people paid by Hillary Clinton to gin up these fake Russia charges that came from Brennan, Christopher Steele, and a network in the United Kingdom. So now we know that? This is interesting because one of Steele's buddies, a guy who used to head one of the UK intelligence agencies, a guy by the name of Richard Dearlove, who knows Steele. Dearlove has vouched for Steele. Dearlove said this in the piece. This is where, I'm telling you folks, we have been on this thing. We have nailed this from day one. This is why the New York Times is panicking and freaking out. The Fusion GPS book claims Dearlove then surprised Steele, Christopher Steele, by indicating that he was already aware that the British government had suspicions about links between Russia and members of the Trump campaign. It seemed the British government had made a political decision not to push the matter further. Wow. This is really fascinating, isn't it? So Christopher Steele's dossier, the only allegation anywhere that Trump is colluding with the Russians, appears in the Steele dossier. So Steele starts talking to his buddy, the former head of British Intel, Richard Dearlove, and Dearlove says, oh, no, we already know about basically Trump colluding with the Russians. You do? You do, Rich? That's funny because Trump wasn't colluding with the Russians, and there is no actual evidence. So what exactly is Dearlove talking about, Joe? What exactly does Dearlove know? And where is Dearlove getting this information? And is Steele really giving information to Dearlove, or is Dearlove giving information to Steele?
Oh, dear.
Well, let's go back to this gem of a CNN interview a couple of years ago. Not an interview, a CNN piece.
Nah.
It's about a minute long. Keep in mind, a segment that has never been pulled off the air and never been refuted. Because you may say, oh, Dan, the UK feeding information to Brennan's CIA that somehow finds its way to Steele and back into the dossier? Come on. That's a conspiracy theory, Dan. I mean, you right-wingers, you never get the story right? Okay, you don't need to hear it from me. Let's hear it from CNN. Check this out.
CNN has learned that British and European intelligence intercepted communications between Trump associates and Russian officials and other Russians known to Western intelligence during the U.S. presidential campaign, and shared those communications with their U.S. counterparts. Multiple U.S. and Western officials tell CNN. These sources stress that at no point did Western intelligence, including Britain's GCHQ, which is responsible for communications surveillance, target these Trump associates. Instead, their communications were picked up as incidental collection during routine surveillance of known Russian targets. The U.S. and Britain are part of the so-called Five Eyes Agreement, along with Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, which calls for open sharing among member nations of a broad range of intelligence. This new information comes as former Trump foreign policy advisor Carter Page provides a confusing, even conflicting story about his contacts with Russian intelligence. He has denied that he was a foreign agent.
Did you get that? That's CNN, folks. That's not Fox. It's not the Dan Bongino show. It's not a John Solomon article. That's CNN laying out the whole scandal for you, clear as day. But don't worry, folks. They put in a little proviso at the end and caveat up to Bible. Don't worry, Joe. It was all part of just incidental collection by the United Kingdom. So the UK was spying on American citizens associated with the Trump campaign, but it was all by accident. It was incidental. It's becoming pretty clear, Joe, that the United Kingdom was spying on behalf of the Obama administration on Trump campaign members. Don't worry, it was incidental. Yeah, okay, whatever. Just stop the BS, huh? Don't waste anybody's time. That information, I believe, was done with the knowledge of U.S. officials, if not at the specific request of U.S. officials. Hey, UK, can you spy on our guys? Well, why don't you spy on them? Because we can't. They have laws against that stuff. But if you do it, send it back to London, and then send it over to our CIA, and then send it back to us in the United States, we could just say, you guys found this stuff, and we didn't ask you to find it. then finds its way to Brennan, magically finds its way to a law firm that finds its way to Fusion GPS, and then finds its way to Steele. Did Steele really write the dossier? Or did Steele get the information from the Brits, who pass it to the UK, who pass it to the CIA, who passes it to Brennan, who passes it to Perkins Coie, who hands it off to Steele later on and says, hey, Steele used to work with the Russians. Why don't you write this little story about Carter Page? We'll get the FBI to spy on him for us. And then once we spy on Carter Page, we can spy on the whole campaign. Remember the 2-hop rule. Libs, I know you're taking a victory lap over the IG report, which is bizarre because the IG report was damning enough. I'm telling you right now, you have no idea what's coming. I am not your friend. I never will be. I'm simply suggesting to you, as a fellow citizen in the strongest possible terms, you should seriously think about this before you take any victory laps over Spygate. I'm telling you with the absolute confidence. I don't know who's going to jail. I'm not getting into that. I'm not going to get into predictions, who's going to go to jail. All I'm telling you is the information that I'm sure Durham has and Bill Barr. It's worse than you can imagine. And your victory lap is way, way premature. You think Barr's conversation with McCallum was done haphazardly? You think that New York Times piece last night, trying to get out ahead of it? What was their narrative, Joe? Narrative test. Here was their narrative. It's all political. Trump's going after Brennan because it's politics. No.
Right.
That was put out last night for one specific reason. They know Brennan's nailed to the wall. Brennan lied. Brennan said he didn't have Steele's information. Brennan clearly had Steele's information. The only open question is, did he lie to the FBI about it? And who gave the information to Steele? If that information wasn't Steele Brennan, but was Brennan's people Steele? Oh, Houston, do we got a problem?
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.